The thrust in overseas trade, especially along the west coast of India, gave rise to the Satavahana dynasty. The most telling evidence of the importance of trade during this period is an iconage of an Indian ship on a lead coin from the realm of Vasishthaputra Sri Pulamavi. A spectacular discovery by a group of Belgian speleologists indicate that the island of Socotra in the western Indian Ocean was a transit point for traders between the 1st century BC and the 6th century AD. They found a large number of inscriptions and drawings deep inside the Hawk Caves. Of the 193 inscriptions found, majority of them were in Sanskrit.
When one looks at it very closely, the ship design that comes along with the inscription on the walls of the cave Hawk on this island has considerable affinity to the known shape and designs of ships from Western India, either known from the coins of the Satavahana rulers, double-masted ships, or even very large ship depicted in the paintings of Ajanta.
As the incense trade route grew as a channel for goods like frankincense, myrrh, pearls and cotton, ports like Surat, Mangrol and Bharuch formed an important part of the trade network connecting the Persian Gulf and Eastern Africa. Goods from the kingdom of Aksum in modern-day Ethiopia and South Arabian kingdoms of Qataban, Himyarite and Sabaean in modern-day Yemen all found their way to India's western coast. From the 7th century onwards, the Siddhis from Ethiopia traveled to India as merchants, sailors and indentured servants. Even today, a large community is settled in the states of Karnataka, Gujarat and Maharashtra. Zanzibar in Tanzania also has an interesting commercial connection with India from early 17th century onwards. The old stone town in Zanzibar has beautifully carved wooden doors, the origins of which can be traced to Kutch in Gujarat and were probably carried to Zanzibar by sea from Bharuch.
So Indian merchant communities, the old merchant communities settled in Zanzibar, and they were patronized by the Omani Sultan. So they actually flourished. They became custom farmers. A custom farmer is a custom collector for Zanzibar and for the mainland and across from Zanzibar. They were very big merchants. They controlled the trade in Surat cloths, in Indian cottons, in commodities like rice, ghee, spices, in ivory.
Even in modern times, the Gulf of Kutch in India's west coast is of great importance to meet our growing energy needs. With a ship taking 3 to 5 days to reach India's west coast from the Arabian Peninsula, the bulk of the crude oil is imported from West Asia and Africa. India is the 4th largest exporter of refined petroleum in the world today, with Jamnagar on India's west coast having the biggest petroleum refinery complex in the world. Aided by the Kandla and Vadinar ports, majority of the refined petroleum is exported from India's west coast. The Vadinar oil terminal has contributed significantly to India's petroleum industry, owing to cost competitiveness and favorable weather conditions. The port of Kandla has also seen a rise in trade of essential commodities. It is the largest port of India by volume of cargo handled and one of the busiest in recent years. The geographical proximity of India's west coast with West Asia and Africa has not only allowed for a robust trade association, but has also led to a constant exchange of people between the two regions. Since ancient times, the eastern coast of India has also been frequented by merchants and monks. They have traversed the same routes across land and seas, seeking fortunes and answers to life. It was from 1st century BC onwards that the spread of Buddhism followed the wake of commerce. The Silk Route overland became a gateway, exporting the ideals of Buddhism into Chinese, Korean, and Japanese cultures. To preach the Dhamma of Buddhism, 33 Ashokan edicts were placed on important trade routes. ensuring their presence to as many travelers as possible. Merchants supported Buddhist monasteries along trade routes, which were used as places to stay in as they traveled from city to city. From the 6th century AD onwards, Tamaralipthi, Puri, Masulipatnam, and Nagapatnam emerged as major centers for Chinese silk and spices from Southeast Asia.
You have three areas being connected here. You have the spice producing areas of the archipelago, you have the cloth producing areas of India, you have China silk and China gold, and Japanese silver probably. All of these are the motive force behind the trade of what we today call the Eastern Indian Ocean.
One of the longest ruling dynasties in southern India, the Cholas, under the rule of Raja Raja Chola, created the first and only trans-sea empire in the history of India. Between 985 and 1030 AD, the Chola Empire stretched from Sri Lanka to parts of Southeast Asia. Nagapatnam, located at the mouth of the Kaveri, was an important port settlement of the Cholas. A bustling hub of merchants and artisans, shipbuilding and trade flourished in this period between the 7th century and 11th century AD. The Chola trade during this period was supported by its trading guilds. By the end of the 9th century, southern India had developed an extensive trade network with the Sri Vijaya Kingdom in Southeast Asia and the Tang dynasty of China.
We have, again, a large number of inscriptions talking about the 500, who are called the Ayiratti Ainutruvar. In fact, the inscriptions say Dishai Ayiratti Ainutruvar. So the 500 who trade in 1,000 directions. So the guilds are part of this entire network of trade across the southern Bay of Bengal.
Trade guilds like the Nana Desis, Aihole 500 and the Manigramam guilds were very powerful and even financed temple constructions. The Cholas envisioned the temples not only as places of worship, but also centers of economic activity. The temples as an economic institution to which the guilds are connected are also very clear through inscriptions.
There is an inscription, for instance, which says that the 500 deposited a sum of money with the temple, and the interest on that money was to be used to buy perfumed oil from Arabia to light the Nanda Deep. Look at the connections across. So here you've got a guild that is trading primarily to Southeast Asia, talking about the perfumed oils from Arabia to light the diya, the permanent, the Nanda Deep in the temple.
The temples of Bagan in Myanmar, Prambanan, Borobudur and Deng temples in Java and later the Angkor Wat in Cambodia bear architectural resemblances to the temples of Odisha and Tamil Nadu. Buddhist and Hindu iconography are replete in many of these temples. Even today, at the banks of the river Mahanadi, children float paper boats carrying small oil lamps. The people of Odisha, or Kalinga as it was known then, celebrate Bali Jatra to commemorate the voyages of ancient Oriya mariners or Sadabas would sail on large vessels called boitas to Southeast Asia for trade and commerce. Owing to the proximity to the international trade routes across the Indian Ocean, the southern coast of India occupies a pivotal position in India's modern maritime commerce. Chennai has emerged as Asia's fourth largest exporter of passenger cars, exporting to the American continents, Africa, Europe, and the Middle East. India's automobile exports have grown consistently with over 300,000 cars exported annually from the Chennai Ennore